But there's something that needs to drive all of that. Now in Mongolia, the dominant religion there is Tibetan Buddhism, or at least a form of Tibetan Buddhism. And most of the population would say that that was their religion, although there's a lot of nominal people who would say that they are Buddhist. Their Buddhism has an interesting mix because the communist government didn't allow them to associate with any other Buddhists or anything, so they've syncretized, they've mixed in a lot of shamanist and amonist, am I saying that right? Beliefs. So it's a little bit of a different form that no one else has anywhere in the world. But in this Tibetan Buddhist religion, the symbols which some of the team saw, the pictures of the gods, they have skulls, there's lots of blood, there's lots of bones and things. It's kind of scary images and not that nice. And the people, when something goes wrong, maybe somebody is sick, maybe somebody something gets stolen, or maybe somebody dies. The people, they have to appease the spirits. They have to find out, well, what's wrong? Who did something bad? And why are the gods angry at us? So they will go to the monastery and they will pay money to the Buddhist priests, or we call them the lamas, they will read a book in Tibetan that perhaps they don't even understand, but the people certainly don't understand that. And the purpose of that is to make the spirits feel okay about things, and then you'll be okay. Some of the names of people are very interesting in Mongolia. Some people are named Niragui, which means no name. There's a major politician who is named Tervish, which means that's not right, or not that one. I met a lady called Aldagui, which means can't be found. That one was very funny because my coworker, who's a Mongolian lady, was trying to get the names of the 3 teachers that were going to participate in a seminar that we were doing. The lady said the first name, and my coworker Dolma, she wrote it down, and then the next name, and then she said, okay, who's the 3rd person? And the lady said, Aldagui. And Dolma said, no, you have to find another person. Just go and find one more teacher. And I said, no, Aldagui. Yeah, you got to find somebody. Oh, no, and then finally got through that the person's name was can't be found, because she thought the lady was saying, oh, we can't find another teacher to join. But the reason they named their children these names is to confuse the spirits. Because they're afraid that the spirits may take their children and make their children die. And this is their picture of God. Now, since 1992 or so, Christianity has been allowed to be preached there, and people have heard about the love of God, and that's a huge contrast. You have this picture of the spirits where you have to be careful, you have to try and trick them, you have to stay one step ahead of them, and if you don't, they're going to get you. And you have to do things, you have to pay money, you have to keep them happy, otherwise bad things could happen. And you contrast that with the love of God. And Jesus is sacrificed for us. And that has a huge effect on the Mongolian people. And I would say that's the message that has made that has grown the Mongolian church as it has. It's experienced phenomenal growth from only a handful of people in about 1990 to now there's approximately 40,000 people in church on a Sunday. And the church there is planning and visioning for continued incredible growth. But the message that is sticking in people's hearts is the love of God. And I know for me, I'm not really an emotional person. My wife maybe confirmed that. I sort of get in my mind what needs to be done and I want to go and do it. But I felt in the last while that I've needed to come back to the root of everything and what drives everything, and that's the love of God. Now, in this Bible, it's the New Living Translation. I'll just read verse 17, Ephesians 3:17. And I pray that Christ will be more and more at home in your hearts as you trust in Him. May your roots go down deep into the soil of God's marvelous love. And I thought about that picture, and I know that many of you have something, some of your work is to do with farming, or perhaps you have a garden. And I'm sure you know much more about it than me. But I know enough that if you have pretty bad soil, your plants, that's where they get the nutrients from, that's where they get everything from, and it's not going to work well. But if you have really good soil, if you have a nice loamy soil, and I look at some of the places in the Gobi Desert, and they don't have good soil. They can still grow some things, but they really have to hit the water with it, and they have to work at it all the time. But other places have this good soil, and the plants that are planted and rooted solidly in that good soil, they draw everything they need from that soil, and it gives them what they need to produce the things that plants are supposed to. And that picture meant a lot to me, and thinking of me, what am I rooted in? And the soil of God's love. I had not thought about that before, but I'm thinking now about the soil that I'm rooted in is God's love, and that's what comes up, and that's what allows me to produce, to do the service, to be involved and be able to say yes to God. And without that, without being connected, I've got nothing. So I guess I would want to go back and say to everybody, both the young and the old, and those that are in the middle, or those that are in denial, perhaps like myself, that yes, all that service, all those things we want to do, that's great, and that's needed, and that's important. But it needs to come from the love of God in our lives, and it needs to come from us being rooted in the love of God. As it says later on in verse 19, it says, may you experience the love of Christ, though it is so great you will never fully understand it. And I feel very much that way. I don't understand the love of God and how great it is, but just a little bit that I can, and to keep coming back to God's love, and to think about that and meditate on it. It helps me where I tend not to think about love, perhaps because I'm thinking of it as an emotion or something, but I've really been encouraged in the last while to go back to the love of God. Just before I turn it back to Todd, perhaps I could pray for us all, that we would experience that in a new way. Lord, I ask that you would help us all to be rooted in your marvelous love. I pray that you would keep us growing, giving us the nutrients, the things that we need in our Christian walk, to continue to produce, to continue to serve you. And I pray that you would help us to understand just a little bit more of your love and what it means for us every day. And I pray that you would keep bringing it back to us over this next while in little ways where we see snippets of your love for us, Lord.